What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction and review of Netflix's apocalyptic political thriller film, A House of Dynamite. And just so you guys know, this video will contain mild spoilers, so if for some reason you haven't gotten around to watching this movie yet and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. A House of Dynamite is an American-made apocalyptic political thriller film directed by Kathryn Bigelow and written by Noah Oppenheim. The film features an ensemble cast led by Idris Elba, Rebecca Ferguson, Gabriel Basso, Jared Harris, and Tracy Letts. And its plot follows the U.S. government navigating an official response to a single nuclear missile launched by an unidentified enemy. Now, A House of Dynamite had its world premiere in the main competition of the 82nd Venice International Film Festival on September 2nd of this year, where it was nominated for the Golden Lion. It was released in select cinemas in the United Kingdom on October 3rd, and finally it was released in the United States on October 10th before its global streaming debut on Netflix on October 24th. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the movie has a 76% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 227 critic reviews, with its popcorn meter currently sitting at 78% based on over 100 verified ratings. The film has a Metascore of 75 on Metacritic based on 50 critic reviews, with a user score of 5.7 based on 182 user ratings. And finally, the movie has a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb with 58,000 ratings. Now, a lot of people were making a lot of noise about this film's release over the last several weeks, and ultimately that's what prompted me to watch and cover it here. And as I went into viewing this movie, I really didn't have any preconceived notions, I promise. And, I just kind of thought about other political thrillers that I've seen in recent memory, and I thought to myself, okay, Netflix, let's just kind of see what you got. But I have to admit to you guys that this film just did not do it for me. Now, my biggest issue with this movie was the fact that it was a film about a potential nuclear attack that we, the audience, never really get to actually see outside of the missile being launched in the opening image. That issue is then compounded by the fact that we have to sit through the ordeal pertaining to the missile 3 times as we watch the point of view change, even to the point of listening to the same dialogue over and over again. Now, I'm going to admit to you guys that the Rashomon story structure is one that I absolutely hate in the overwhelming majority of situations, mostly because it's annoying as hell. And I myself would never ever use it as a screenwriter unless there was a damn good narrative reason. And I just don't think this story warranted that structure's use. Now, I understand that this technique can sometimes be used to show different perspectives, or even how multiple people or groups of people can view the same situation differently. And I understand that that was what the filmmakers were going for here, but I just don't think it worked in this particular case with this particular premise, because in this particular case, all we really care about is what the fallout of said nuclear attack ends up being, and then possibly what America will do in response. The filmmakers force us to ask both of those questions here based on just how the film was written and filmed. But astonishingly, we don't get answers to any of those things, which makes all the posturing simply wasted time. If you guys take remember, say, for example, a movie like Top Gun Maverick, where you had an unidentified military foe that America had to go and kind of deal with. They were building a nuclear weapon, and Maverick and the rest of the Navy pilots, the Top Gun pilots, had to go in and blow it up and then get back to the aircraft carrier. Same deal, right? You have an unidentified military power amassing a nuclear weapon. We have to go in and stop them. But imagine that movie if we had never actually seen the mission. That's what this movie essentially was. Now, I thought the dialogue was fine, and the acting performances are as well. But sadly, in this case, I think this script wasted the amazing cast that the casting director managed to assemble. And speaking of the cast, when I first heard what this film was all about, I wondered how in the hell Angel Reese would be included in the narrative. And after seeing the film in its entirety, I found her inclusion to be inconsequential from a narrative standpoint. And, with all the other heavy hitters in this cast, the film just really didn't need her from a promotional standpoint either. Especially seeing how the film went almost straight to streaming. And I want to be clear when I say this. This isn't me hating on Angel Reese. I think that Angel Reese is a fairly attractive black woman. I laud her for her personal achievements. And making it to the WNBA and all that kind of stuff like that. I know there's a lot of discourse about Angel Reese online, especially in comparison to Caitlin Clark. But I want to take a moment to say this. As a Caitlin Clark stan, I would have said the same thing if Caitlin Clark were included in this film as well, where you kind of just go, I don't really understand why, right? And of course, if you've seen the movie, you understand that the president goes to like a basketball camp in Chicago and Angel Reese happens to be there. But Angel Reese doesn't have like a ton of dialogue. Angel Reese doesn't do anything that ends up making a difference in how this story will turn out or anything like that, right? And so even if, say, for example, you had replaced Angel Reese with Caitlin Clark, I would have still been like, I don't understand why, right? Because for a political thriller, I didn't even understand why the president was at a basketball camp when he could have easily been meeting with some constituents or something that would have been so much more important. Not that a basketball camp and kids isn't important, but what I'm saying to you is that this is supposed to be a political thriller, right? Give us politics. You see what I'm saying? Give us, the president's meeting with the cabinet of whatever's going on, and that could have been replaced with the basketball camp. I didn't really get how that really was going to fit in with the story that we're actually being told. So I just kind of felt like that was maybe kind of shoehorned into the film, and it was kind of one of the things I kind of took issue with as well. Now, I thought the directing was a bit misguided, right? Not because the director failed to execute her vision, but because I think the vision was narratively insufficient to begin with. Again, like I said, the story structure, I just really don't like it unless you're going to give us something different when you change points of view. Say, for example, there was a TV show that came on a few years back on Showtime called The Affair. And they did this thing with the Rashomon structure where, half the episode was in person one's POV and then the other half of the episode was the same events in person two's POV. But what was different was person one saw a set of events one way and person two saw the exact same set of events in a completely different way. And it worked for the affair because this was kind of a story that was like, well, what actually happened? And then you have these various people, we see how they saw it. Here, we get the exact same events down to the exact same dialogue. Nothing gets changed. And I would have rather seen this movie just switch POVs throughout. Even if you want to say, hey, we're still not going to show you the missile in flight, we're still not going to show the missile actually strike its target, but just give us the POVs kind of switching around as we get closer and closer and closer to the missile strike. So, for example, if the writer has started from the opening image, which is the missile being launched, and then we just hop around the president's POV in the military bunker, and we just kind of switch around the POV as the missile gets closer and closer and closer to hitting its target. And say, for example, instead of showing us 17 minutes 3 different times, show us like an hour. You know what I'm saying? Let the whole movie just play out and then finally get to the end and do it that way. I absolutely hated the fact that the missile doesn't hit. We don't get to see the missile actually strike. And like I said, again, we don't get to see what the president even decides to do in response. And so I just thought the whole movie was just a bit of a waste of time. Now, overall, I'd give this film a 55% or 5.5 out of 10 if you're taking an IMDb score. Essentially a D- for a letter grade. Listen, guys, I had to find reasons not to fail this movie. And honestly, the only reason I could come up with was the fact that War of the Worlds, I call it the Ice Cube disaster, that was released earlier this year on Amazon Prime Video, was the worst movie I've seen this year and maybe the worst movie I've seen in the past 5. And that movie was an F movie. And as bad as this movie was, I just didn't feel right putting this movie in the same company as that one. That said, this is a bad movie disguised as a good movie, in my opinion, which made it perfect for Halloween season. But outside that, when you get down to brass tacks, it just doesn't pass the smell test for me. It's a prime example of why screenwriters say that if your story is no good, there's nothing you can do in other facets of filmmaking that can fix it. Long story short, if you've yet to watch this film and you're wondering if you should make time to do so, you'll be glad to know that I literally sat through this movie so that you wouldn't have to. But what do you guys think? Have you had a chance to watch A House of Dynamite yet? If you have, what did you think about the filmmakers deciding to use the Rashomon structure in order to tell this story? What did you think about the narrative choice to omit the story's ending? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you that might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. You can also now support the channel by leaving a super thanks. If you should be so inclined, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, feel free to subscribe to my new shorts channel and my reaction and reviews channel for additional content. The links are in the description. In addition to that, be sure to go and check out themadScreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.